In this video, we will discuss the concepts of solid state. That is, in the previous video we have discussed related to N-type semiconductor and P-type semiconductor, where we know N-type semiconductors and P-type semiconductors. We know that these are the semiconductors that we obtain here. In this case, the intrinsic semiconductor, that is silicon and germanium, is doped with group 15 elements, and pentavalent impurity is added, and then it is doped so that it has 5 electrons. 1 electron will be extra, and that extra electron will act as charge carrier. Here electrons are the charge carriers. Whereas in the case of P-type semiconductor, a trivalent impurity is added. Trivalent impurity means the valency is 3, and in that valency 1 electron is less compared to silicon or germanium, the semiconductor. So there will be a space created or vacancy created, which we call it as holes. So when we observe the conduction, we feel that the holes are moving and then the conduction is taking place. So usually we say holes are the charge carriers. But in fact, what happens? Some neighboring electrons come and occupies that holes, and then the conduction takes place. So that's about N-type and P-type semiconductors. Some applications of these semiconductors we should be knowing. Applications of N-type and P-type semiconductors. When we see the applications, the first important use is that semiconductors, that is doped semiconductors, are used in diodes. Diodes are those semiconductors where we use N and P-type semiconductors. N and P-type semiconductors are used as diodes. For example, solar cell. Solar cell is an example for photodiode. Solar cell is an example for photodiode. What does it do? It converts it converts solar energy into electrical energy. So diodes is a combination of N and P-type semiconductor, which also can be used as a rectifier. In physics you will be learning all this. It is also used as rectifier. One example for diode is solar cell, which is a photodiode which converts solar energy into electrical energy. One more use is that this N-type and P-type semiconductors, they are sandwiched. That is, if one is N-type, in middle, in between it will be P-type, again N-type. So we call them as transistors. They are also used in transistors where this N and P-type semiconductors are sandwiched in between. So if two N are there, one will be in between, which would be called as P-type, and the other one is PNP type of transistor. So these type of transistors also can be prepared by using N-type and P-type semiconductors, which are used in various fields. Okay, transistors also are used. That's about. So you know why transistors are used? Transistors are used to amplify the audio or radio signal. To amplify, in the sense to increase the audio or radio signals, these transistors are used. These are the uses. And then again, we know silicon and germanium, they are generally used as semiconductors. They belong to group 14, isn't it? Silicon and germanium belong to group 14. 14th group it belongs to. So number of valence electron will be where the valence electrons will be 4. So what usually is done nowadays is they try to bring the valency of the semiconductors to that of valency of silicon and germanium by using by adjusting the group elements. That is, they sometimes use group 13 and group 15. The elements of group 13 and group 15 are used. They are doped or they are combined so that the valency lies in between of this range. that of silicon and germanium. Otherwise, group 12 and group 16 elements are combined, so that again the valency will be almost as that of silicon or germanium. So this is done. One example is gallium arsenide. Gallium arsenide is an example again. And as you can see, one is group 15 element, one more is group 13 element. Group 13, group 15 element. This again plays a very important role. So it is used in many electrical apparatus also, where it is said that nowadays the transistors or the semiconductors which we get by combining these elements also are of great importance compared to silicon and germanium. So this gallium arsenide, it has a very fast response in the semiconductor devices. That means we know that silicon and germanium also act as semiconductors, whereas these combined semiconductors which we have, they show very good response also. So that's about some applications. There are many other examples given, like it can be zinc sulfide, cadmium sulfide, titanium oxide, etc. That is by the combination of the elements of neighboring groups compared to group 14 elements. That's about the magnetic properties that, electrical properties which we have studied for solids. Next important concept that we study under solids is their magnetic properties. Magnetic properties. Now, what do we study under magnetic properties? You know, most of the solids do show this magnetic property. The reason is because of their orbital motion and spin motion. Orbital motion means, for example, if you consider an atom, if this is the nucleus, if this is nucleus of an atom, you know, around the nucleus the electron revolves, isn't it? The electrons keep revolving around the nucleus. So a magnetic moment will be produced. Magnetic moment will be produced. How this magnetic moment will be produced? It is due to orbital motion and spin motion. The reasons for magnetic moment are: one is orbital motion of electrons. One more reason is the spin motion of electrons about its own axis. Spin motion or spinning of electrons about its own axis. These are the reasons for magnetic moment. So what happens? A magnetic moment is produced, which is the product of this orbital angular momentum, that is orbital motion and spin motion of the electrons. You know, orbital motion means in the orbit the electrons keep revolving. Spin motion of electrons means now in the orbit the electron is moving, isn't it? So the electron, when it is moving or revolving, it spins about its own axis. We know the spin can be clockwise or anti-clockwise. So in that orbit, as it is moving, there will be spinning of electrons about its own axis. So that is called as spin motion of electrons. Product of these two will give magnetic moment, which is denoted as mu. This is the denotation for magnetic moment, which is called as mu. And the unit of magnetic moment is Bohr magneton. Bohr magneton, BMV, right? The full form is BOHR, Bohr magneton. This is the unit for magnetic moment. We will be studying how to calculate this in one more unit called as D block elements. But now you should be knowing how magnetic moment is produced. And the value for Bohr magneton is 9.27 into 10 to the power minus 24 ampere meter square. Ampere meter square. The value for Bohr magneton, or it's a constant, that is 9.27 into 10 to the power minus 24 angstrom meter square. Hope it's clear. Now we will see, on the basis of these magnetic properties, the solids or the substances can be classified into different classes. We will see how they are classified as. On what basis they are classified? Based on the magnetic properties substances are classified as that is, they are classified into different categories. We will see which are those. The first one is called paramagnetic substance, or we call that property as paramagnetism. We call it as paramagnetism. So these are the substances. Paramagnetic substances are those which are weakly attracted by the magnetic field. Now if suppose you place it in the magnetic field, it is weakly attracted, very slightly it gets attracted by the magnetic field. And then when you remove the magnetic field, for example, say oxygen, Cu2 plus, these are examples, okay. If suppose you take oxygen, you place it in magnetic field, for example, north to south pole, a magnet. In the magnetic field you have placed it. Then what happens is, it gets weakly attracted by the magnet, okay, doesn't get strongly attracted, they are weakly attracted by the magnets, and once you remove the magnetic field, it again loses its magnetic property. You understand? So it was slightly attracted by the magnet. Once you remove the magnetic field, it loses its magnetism, or magnetic property is lost. So what is the property you write, or the definition? The substances that are weakly attracted by the magnetic field. Magnetic field are called paramagnetic substances. Paramagnetic substances, and the property is called as paramagnetism. And the property is called as paramagnetism, whereas the substances are called as paramagnetic substances. Examples: oxygen, Cu2 plus, that is O2, Cu2 plus, Fe3 plus, Cr3 plus, all these are example. Chromium ion, etc. are the examples for paramagnetic substances. So in the examination they will be asking you to define paramagnetism, or what are paramagnetic substances, and give an example. And the main reason, do you know why this paramagnetic property is shown? These, do remember this point, very important. This property is shown due to presence of unpaired electrons. This property is due to the presence of unpaired electrons. Because of the presence of free electrons there, unpaired electrons there, you can see this property where the substances are weakly attracted by the magnetic field. This point is again important due to presence of unpaired electrons. If you write their electronic configuration and check, you can see there are electrons which are free, which are not paired up. Next property is called as diamagnetism. Diamagnetism, and the substances are called as diamagnetic substances. So it's like opposite of paramagnetic substances. Example: water, sodium chloride, benzene, etc. These are examples for diamagnetic substances. What happens if you place these substances in the magnetic field? Then you see that these are weakly repelled. What was the point here? It was weakly attracted, isn't it? Here these substances were weakly attracted by the magnetic field, but here these diamagnetic substances are those which are weakly repelled. That means they show slight repulsion. Repulsion means a push away from the magnetic field. So we say the substances that are weakly repelled by the magnetic field are called as diamagnetic substances. Diamagnetic substances. And here you know the example I have given: water, NaCl, benzene. All these are the examples. So that means they are weakly magnetized. Opposite to the magnetic field, they are weakly magnetized. And one more reason why it shows diamagnetic property is because here all the electrons are paired up. Here what did I say? There are unpaired electrons. But here all the electrons are paired up. So what do we say? It has all paired electrons. If there are no unpaired electrons, then we say it shows diamagnetic property, or it shows diamagnetism due to absence of unpaired electrons. Next property. So two properties you remember. One is paramagnetism, diamagnetism. Next property we will see ferromagnetism. Ferromagnetism. Now here in ferromagnetism, example is iron, cobalt, nickel, chromium oxide, CrO2 it is, chromium oxide, etc. These are examples for ferromagnetic substances. Now here what happens, the substances, in this the metal ions which are there, metal ions, they will form a group, and that group is called as, or they combine into a group which we call as domains. Domains. What are domains? Metal ions form groups together which we call as domains, and that region form groups together in a region which we call as domains. Okay, domains in the sense we usually denote it. Now in here you have diagrams this way, where the domains usually we indicate this way. Say for example, the domains will be, in case of ferromagnetism, the domains will be all here and there, in the sense it won't be directed in one direction. But when this is placed in the presence of magnetic field, in the presence of magnetic field, if suppose the magnetic field is applied this way, if the magnetic field is applied in one direction, the domains also will get aligned in the same direction. Domains, you know, the region where the metal ions has formed a group. Now domains align, A-L-I-G-N, align means arrange themselves, align in the direction of magnetic field. And the best part is that, now if suppose you remove the magnetic field, now, even after the removal of magnetic field, the domains will be aligned in the same way. That means it will be magnetized. That is why this ferromagnetic substances or ferromagnetism showing property, that is ferromagnetism shown by the substances. Those substances can act as permanent magnets. What is it? They can act as, or we also call ferromagnetic substances as permanent magnets. These substances can act as permanent magnets. Now you know how to show the domains. So below this you will write that the domains aligned in ferromagnetic substances. All the domains are aligned in the direction of magnetic field. After the removal of magnetic field, what happens? The domain remains as it is. That means it gets magnetized permanently. The magnetic field will remain in it, or magnetism will remain in it, and hence it is also called as permanent magnets. So this is about ferromagnetism. Example: iron, cobalt, nickel, chromium, etc. So you might have seen that, say some piece of iron, if you keep it continuously in the presence of magnetic field for long time and you remove it after some time, it can start behaving like a magnet, because it can have the permanent magnetism in it. That is an example. So you should be remembering the examples also. Next is antiferromagnetism. Antiferromagnetism. The substances that shows this property is called as antiferromagnetic substances. Example, an important example is manganese dioxide. So the substances like manganese dioxide, their domains will look similar to that of ferromagnetic substances. But what happens is, antiferromagnetism or antiferromagnetic substances, the domains are similar to that of ferromagnetic substances but are aligned in opposite directions. You know how the alignments will be? Aligned, that means what is aligned? Domains are aligned in opposite direction. So if one domain, that is one is heading forward, that is towards the magnetic field, one more will be opposite to that. So domains will be aligned in opposite direction. If this happens, then what do you see? It is similar, but since the domains are opposite to one another, the magnetism can be cancelled. The magnetism gets cancelled, and therefore how will be the property of this? It will be opposite to that of ferromagnetic substances, that is, they show least magnetism, or they do not show magnetism like that of ferromagnetic substances. Next comes ferrimagnetic substances. Ferrimagnetism, last one, ferrimagnetism. Example for ferrimagnetism is Fe3O4, Mg, Fe2O4, etc. So in these, what happens is, the domains seem, or it looks similar to that of antiferromagnetism or ferromagnetic substances, but here you know how the domains are arranged. They are not arranged in an order. That means they are aligned in parallel and anti-parallel direction. Parallel and anti-parallel direction in unequal numbers. That is important. Directions in unequal numbers. Unequal numbers. See here how it was, equal numbers, the alignment we could see in opposite direction. But here the alignment, if two are in parallel direction, one might be in opposite direction, again one might be in parallel direction. So unequal numbers will be, the domains will be aligned. Again here what happens is, when it is heated, it loses its ferrimagnetism, and then it becomes, or it gets converted into a paramagnetic substance. On heating, it gets converted into what? It gets converted into, converts into paramagnetism or paramagnetic substance. That's about the magnetic properties. You should be knowing the definitions, and you should be knowing the different how the domains are arranged in ferromagnetism, antiferromagnetism, ferrimagnetism. Before that, based on the magnetic properties, it's the substances are classified as paramagnetic substances, diamagnetic substances, ferromagnetic substances, antiferromagnetic substances. Last one is ferrimagnetism. The examples, you know, paramagnetic substances, due to unpaired electrons, they show weak attraction towards the magnetic field. Diamagnetic substances, due to presence of all paired electrons, they show weak repulsion, or they get weakly repelled by the magnetic field. Whereas ferromagnetic substances, you know, first the domains will be aligned in different directions, but when it is placed in the magnetic field, the domains will be aligned in the direction of magnetic field, and even after removing the magnetic field also, it can act as a permanent magnet. It can show permanent magnetism. Whereas in the case of antiferromagnetic substances, the domains are all aligned in opposite directions, and hence they cancel each other because they are in equal numbers. Whereas ferrimagnetism, the domains are similar to that of the other ones, but here what happens, the domains are in unequal numbers. Since they are in unequal numbers, what happens? Because they are present in unequal numbers, here the on heating, they can be converted into paramagnetic substances also. That's about the different magnetic properties that has been mentioned, and the examples you should know. Now you know the definition of domains again. Domains are nothing but the metal ions that are forming a group in a small region, which we consider as domains here. So that's about magnetic properties.